The North is cold and full of whispers.
Before we dive in, check the link in the description if you want exclusive Timelines members-only videos you won't find on YouTube. All on our Patreon. Jon Snow's eyes snapped open. He gasped, lungs burning as if he'd been drowning. His hands shot to his chest, searching for wounds that weren't there. No knife marks, no blood, just unmarred skin beneath his nightshirt. The room was wrong. Too small, too familiar. His chambers in Winterfell, not the Lord Commander's quarters at Castle Black, not the King's chambers in the Red Keep, Winterfell, his childhood room. Jon sat up, heart hammering. He looked at his hands, young hands. Smooth, the scars from years of fighting were gone, the burn from the white that attacked Jorah Mormont, gone. He turned his palms over and over, disbelieving. "No," he whispered, "no. This isn't," but it was. The wooden chest at the foot of his bed, the furs piled in the corner, the narrow window looking out over the yard. He knew this room. He'd grown up in this room. Before the Night's Watch, before Ygritte, before his murder, before everything. Memory crashed over him like a wave, not the vague recollections of childhood, but vivid, terrible clarity. The mutiny at Castle Black, Ollie's knife in his heart, the cold, the darkness, then waking in the snow, gasping, ghost's warmth against his face. But that wasn't all. He remembered more. The Battle of the Bastards, Ramsay's arrows, Rickon dying, the crushing weight of bodies piling on top of him, suffocating, drowning in corpses. He remembered Sansa, Winterfell retaken, being crowned king in the north, and he remembered going south, Daenerys, Dragonstone, bending the knee, the voyage beyond the wall, the Syrian falling, the White Hunt, the Night King's cold blue eyes, the long night, fighting in the darkness, Arya killing the Night King, the dead crumbling to dust, and then King's Landing, the bells, Daenerys burning it all, screaming, so much screaming, his hand around her throat, the dagger, her blood on his hands, Grey Worm's fury, Tyrion's trial, Bran on the throne, Jon sent beyond the wall again, forever. All of it, every moment, every death, every failure. Jon stumbled out of bed, his legs shook. This couldn't be real. He'd lived an entire life, died, killed the woman he loved, been exiled, grown old ranging beyond the wall with the wildlings, and now he was here, young, in Winterfell, before any of it happened. He went to the window. Dawnlight spilled across the training yard. He could see servants moving below, preparing for something, banners being raised, the Stark direwolf, and another banner beside it. The crowned stag of House Baratheon. Jon's breath caught. King Robert was coming to Winterfell today. The memories sharpened. This was the day Bran found the direwolf pups, the day Jon's life changed forever, the day that started everything. He knew this day. He'd lived it once already. But now he remembered what came after. Ned going south, Ned in a dungeon, Joffrey giving the order. Sare Island Payne's sword, Ned's head rolling across the steps of the great sept of Baelor. No, Jon said aloud. Not again. He had to think, had to understand what was happening. Some kind of magic, the Lord of Light, the three-eyed raven. It didn't matter. He was here. He was young. And he knew everything that was going to happen. Bran would climb today or tomorrow. He'd see Jaime and Cersei together in the broken tower. Jaime would push him. Bran would fall, would sleep for weeks, would wake changed. The Lannisters would try to kill Bran again, send an assassin with a Valyrian steel dagger. Catelyn would capture Tyrion. War would start. Ned would go south as Hand of the King. Robert would die. Joffrey would take the throne. Ned would be arrested, executed, and the whole realm would tear itself apart. Unless Jon stopped it, he started pacing. His mind raced through possibilities, scenarios, plans. He knew where the threats were, knew who the enemies were, knew exactly what would happen if he did nothing. But how could he convince anyone? How could he prove he knew the future? Ned. He had to start with Ned. If he could convince his father, no, not his father, Lord Stark, the man who'd raised him, the man who'd die for his honor, the man who'd kept the biggest secret in Westeros for 15 years. Jon stopped pacing. His reflection stared back at him from the polished bronze mirror. Dark hair, gray eyes, the Stark look, but not truly a Stark. Aegon, he whispered to his reflection. My name is Aegon Targaryen. He knew the truth now. Knew what Ned had hidden from everyone, including him. Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark. The Tower of Joy, the promise. Promise me, Ned, those words. Only Ned knew those words. Only Ned and Howland Reed had been there when Lyanna died. No one else. Not even Jon had known until Bran showed him the vision years later. But if Jon spoke those words now, that was it. That was how he'd prove it. Not with vague predictions. Not with warnings about the future. With the one secret no one could possibly know unless they'd been there. Jon dressed quickly, pulled on boots, a leather jerkin, his belt. His sword hung on the wall, a simple castle-forged blade, not Longclaw. He wouldn't have Longclaw for years yet. The thought made him pause. In his memories, Longclaw felt like an extension of his arm, the Valyrian steel blade Jorah Mormont had given him, the blade he'd carried through everything. But it didn't exist yet. Not for him. He shook his head. Focus, priorities. Longclaw could wait. Ned couldn't. Jon left his chambers and walked through Winterfell's corridors. Servants nodded to him as he passed. Master Jon, they called him, the bastard. Always polite, always distant. They didn't know. None of them knew who he really was. He found Ned in the Godswood. The ancient weirwood tree stood at the heart of the grove, its bone-white bark and blood-red leaves stark against the morning sky. Ned knelt before it, head bowed, praying in the old way, the way of the first men. Jon stopped at the edge of the clearing, watched his uncle, the man who'd raised him as a son, who'd lied to protect him, who'd carried the weight of Lyanna's promise for 15 years. Ned looked younger than Jon remembered. No gray in his hair yet, face not yet lined with the stress of being Hand. Still just the Warden of the North, master of Winterfell, content with his family and his duties. About to have all of that destroyed. Ned stood, brushed dirt from his knees. He saw Jon and nodded. Jon, you're up early. I needed to think, my lord. The king arrives today. There's much to prepare. Ned started walking toward the castle. Father. The word stopped Ned in his tracks. Jon never called him that in public. Always my lord or Lord Stark. The informality was jarring. Ned turned. What is it? I need to speak with you, privately. It's important. Ned studied him. Is something wrong? Yes, but not yet. Not if we act now. Jon looked around. Servants were moving through the castle, preparing for the king's arrival. Too many ears. The crypts. Please, I need to show you something in the crypts. Ned's eyes narrowed. Show me what? Something about your sister. The color drained from Ned's face. For a moment he just stared, speechless. Then, come with me, down the covered walkway, through the first keep, to the stone steps that led down into darkness, the crypts of Winterfell, where the kings of winter slept. Ned lit a torch, the flame cast dancing shadows on the stone walls. They descended into the earth, past the statues of dead Starks. Brandon, Rickard, generations of lords and kings carved in stone, iron swords across their laps. At the deepest level they stopped before a statue, younger than the others, a woman with a direwolf at her feet. The carved face was beautiful, sad. Lyanna Stark. Ned stood before his sister's tomb. When he spoke, his voice was rough. What did you want to show me about Lyanna? I want to tell you about the Tower of Joy, Jon said quietly. Ned went very still. What do you know about the Tower of Joy? I know you rode there with 6 companions. Howland Reed, Ethan Glover, Martin Castle, Theo Wool, Mark Risewell, Willem Dustin, 7 men against 3. They don't know about the Kingsguard who stood outside. Sir Arthur Dane, Sir Oswell Went, Lord Commander Gerald Hightower, the finest knights in Westeros, standing guard over a tower in Dorne. They wouldn't tell you where she was. They wouldn't move, so you fought. Ned's hand went to his side, where ice would normally hang. Jon, how do you know this? Arthur Dane would have killed you. The sword of the morning, with dawn in his hands, he was cutting through your men. But Howland Reed saved you, stabbed Dane from behind. Dishonorable, but necessary. And then you went inside. Ned's breathing was harsh now. Stop. You found her in a bed of blood, dying, giving birth. She saw you and she smiled. She'd been waiting for you. She made you promise. I said stop. Ned's voice echoed through the crypts. His eyes were wild. 15 years of keeping the secret, and now his bastard son was speaking it aloud. Jon stepped closer, lowered his voice to barely a whisper. Promise me, Ned." The torch fell from Ned's hand. It clattered on the stone floor, flame guttering. Ned staggered back against Lyanna's statue. "How?" he gasped. "How do you know those words?" "No one knows those words. Howland was there, but I never told anyone." "Promise me, Ned." Jon's voice cracked. "And you did. You promised. You took the baby, you told everyone he was yours. Your bastard. Born of some woman in the south whose name you wouldn't speak, you let Catelyn hate you for it. Let the whole realm think you dishonored yourself. Because you promised Lyanna you'd protect him." Ned was shaking. "Who told you? Who?" "His name is Aegon Targaryen, son of Rhaegar and Lyanna, but you call him Jon. Jon Snow." Jon met Ned's eyes. "I'm him. I'm the baby from the Tower of Joy, and I know this because I've lived it. I've lived everything that comes after today. I've seen the future, I've died and come back. And I'm here to stop it all from happening again." "That's impossible. So is a man coming back from the dead. So are White Walkers and dragons. So is a bastard who's really a Targaryen prince." Jon picked up the fallen torch, held it between them. "I know things no one could know, things that haven't happened yet. And I can prove it. But first you have to believe that somehow, for some reason, the gods have given me a second chance." Ned sank down to sit on the stone steps. He looked old suddenly, worn. "Why? Why would the gods do this? Within a month you'll agree to go south as his hand. Within 3 months you'll be in a dungeon. Within 4 you'll be dead. Executed on Joffrey's orders on the steps of the Great Sept. And he's not Robert's son." Jon sat beside Ned. "Cersei and Jaime Lannister are lovers, have been for years. Joffrey, Myrcella, Tommen, all 3 are bastards born of incest. Robert's children only in name." Ned's jaw clenched. If that were true, it is true, and tomorrow, or the day after, Bran will prove it. He'll climb the broken tower. He'll see them together. And Jaime Lannister will push him out the window to keep the secret safe. "Bran." Ned stood abruptly. "Jaime would kill Bran. He'll try. Bran will fall. He'll survive, but he'll sleep for weeks. And when he wakes, he won't be able to walk. He'll be crippled for life." Jon stood as well. "Unless we stop it, unless we catch Jaime and Cersei in the act and expose them before they can hurt anyone." "How?" "I know when Bran will climb. I know where Jaime and Cersei will be. We bring Robert to the right place at the right time. We show him the truth. And everything changes." Ned paced. His mind was racing. Jon could see it. Weighing, calculating. If what you say is true, if Cersei's children are bastards, the succession is a lie. Robert has no heirs. The realm would tear itself apart. The realm will tear itself apart anyway. The War of the 5 Kings, Robb crowned in the north, Stannis and Renly fighting for the throne, the Lannisters holding King's Landing, tens of thousands dead, the Riverlands burned, the North betrayed. Robb? He'll be murdered. At the Twins. The Red Wedding. Walder Frey and Roose Bolton will betray him. They'll kill him, Catelyn, Grey Wind, your wife and your son butchered at a wedding feast. Ned's face went white. "You're lying. You have to be lying. No one would. I watched it happen. In another life, in the life I lived before waking up this morning." Jon's voice was flat, empty. "I've seen terrible things, Father. I've seen the dead rise. I've seen dragons burn cities. I've seen everything you love destroyed, and I'm here to stop it." They stood in silence. The torch flickered. Above them, generations of Starks watched from their stone thrones. Finally, Ned spoke. "If you truly know the future, tell me something else. Something specific. Something I can verify. Littlefinger murdered Jon Arryn." Ned's head snapped up. "What?" "He convinced Lysa Arryn to poison her husband with tears of lice. Then he had Lysa write a letter to Catelyn saying the Lannisters did it. It's all been his game from the start. Chaos, war, death. He profits from all of it." "Why would Littlefinger kill Jon Arryn?" "Because Jon Arryn discovered the truth about Joffrey. He and Stannis were investigating. They looked at Robert's bastards, Gendry, Edric Storm, Bella, Maya Stone, all black-haired. Then they looked at Joffrey, golden-haired. The seed is strong, Father. Baratheon genes always dominate. Always. 300 years of precedent, but Cersei's children have no Baratheon in them." Jon Arryn was reading a book before he died. About lineages. The Maester mentioned it. Because he was looking for proof, and he found it. That's why they killed him. That's why Littlefinger set this all in motion. Jon gripped Ned's arm. But we can stop it. All of it. We catch Cersei and Jaime, we expose the bastards. We execute Littlefinger before he can do more damage. We keep you alive. We keep Robb alive. We prepare the realm for what's really coming. What's really coming? Jon looked north, even though they were underground, even though the wall was hundreds of miles away. Winter, the long night, the army of the dead, the Night King, everything we've forgotten, everything the wall was built to keep out. It's all coming back, and when it does, we need to be ready, united, not tearing each other apart over a throne. Ned stared at him for a long moment, then he said quietly, "Promise me, Ned." Those were her last words. No one knows that. No one except Howland, and he's never spoken of it, not even to his children. So either you're telling the truth, or what? Or you're something else entirely, something I don't understand. I'm your nephew, Lyanna's son, the boy you raised as your bastard to keep him safe from Robert. And I'm here to save our family. Ned's resolve hardened. Jon saw it happen, saw the moment Ned made his choice. Tell me the plan. All of it. When does Bran climb? Where will Jaime and Cersei be? Tomorrow afternoon, the king will take most of the men hunting. Bran will be bored. He'll climb the broken tower. Jaime and Cersei will use the empty castle to meet in the first keep. They think they're alone. But Bran will see them through a window. And you want me to bring Robert to that window? Yes. But not you, me. I'll tell Robert I saw Bran climbing, that it's dangerous, that we should help him down. Robert will come. He's curious, restless. He'll want to do something physical after days of feasting. And when we get there, we'll hear them, and Robert will see. Robert will kill them both on the spot. Maybe. Or maybe he'll arrest them, take them in chains to King's Landing for trial. Either way, the threat ends. Joffrey is exposed. The Lannister coup dies before it begins. Ned nodded slowly. And Littlefinger, I know how to find the proof. But first, we deal with the Lannisters. One threat at a time. They stood together in the crypts, uncle and nephew, lord and bastard, both carrying secrets that could destroy kingdoms. I don't fully understand this, Ned said. I don't know if you've been blessed by the gods or cursed by them, but if there's even a chance you're right, if Bran is in danger, if Robb and Catelyn could die, I have to act. If you're wrong, if this is some madness or trick, I'll send you to the wall myself. I know. Ned picked up the torch, started walking toward the steps, stopped, turned back. Jon, if you truly are Lyanna's son, if you know the truth about yourself, what does that mean? What do you want? Jon thought about it. In another life, he'd been king in the north, king of the 6 kingdoms. He'd sat the Iron Throne, and it had destroyed him. I want to save our family. I want to stop the Long Night. Everything else is secondary. And the throne? You're Rhaegar's son. You have a claim. I don't want the throne. I never wanted it. But if taking it is the only way to save the realm, I'll do it, just like I'll do anything else that needs to be done. Ned studied him. You've changed. I raised you as a boy, watched you grow, and this morning, you're someone else. I've lived a lifetime since this morning, died twice, killed the woman I loved, watched everyone I cared about suffer and die. I'm not the Jon Snow you knew. I'm what he became, and I'm here to make sure he never has to. They climbed out of the crypts together. Above ground, Winterfell was chaos. The royal party had been sighted on the King's Road. Servants rushed everywhere, preparing. Catelyn stood in the yard, directing people with sharp efficiency. She saw Ned and Jon emerge and frowned. Where have you been? The king will be here within the hour. Jon, you need to... She stopped, looked at him properly. What's wrong with you? Jon realized he was staring at her. Catelyn Stark, murdered at the Twins, throat cut, body thrown in a river, brought back as Lady Stoneheart, twisted and broken and mad with grief. But here she was, alive, whole, still hating him for being Ned's bastard, but alive. Nothing, my lady, Jon said. I'll prepare. She studied him suspiciously, then turned back to Ned. The children are ready. Bran has been climbing again. I swear that boy. I'll speak to him, Ned said quickly. Make sure he stays on the ground while the king is here. Jon met Ned's eyes. Not yet. Bran needed to climb, just not until they were ready. The horns sounded. Robert Baratheon's party appeared on the horizon. Hundreds of riders, wagons, banners, the crowned stag and the Lannister lion side by side. Jon watched them approach, In his memory, he'd seen this before. Stood in this yard, watched Robert embrace Ned, seen Joffrey sneer at everyone, watched Cersei look at Winterfell with barely concealed disgust. But this time, he knew what came next. This time, he could stop it. The gates opened. Robert rode in first, massive on his warhorse. Laughing, he dismounted and went straight to Ned, pulled him into a crushing embrace. "Ned, you got fat." Jaime, golden and handsome, scanning the yard with a warrior's eye. Cersei, beautiful and cold, stepping from her wheelhouse with perfect grace. And the children. Joffrey already sneering. Myrcella and Tommen young and uncertain. Jon stayed in the background. The bastard. Always in the background. He watched Jaime's eyes find him, dismiss him, watched Cersei not even look his way. They had no idea what was coming. That night there was a feast. The great hall was packed. Robert sat at the high table with Ned, drinking and telling war stories. The Starks and Lannisters mingled uneasily. Jon sat at the back, among the servants and lesser knights. He watched, catalogued. Tyrion Lannister, drunk already, making sharp comments. Sandor Clegane, the Hound, standing guard. Ser Barristan Selmy, the greatest knight alive, looking uncomfortable in his white cloak. And at the children's table, Arya flicking food at Sansa. Bran laughing with Tommen, Robb trying to be lordly. All of them alive, whole, not yet touched by war and death. Jon's chest tightened. He could save them. All of them. He just had to be smart. Careful, patient. After the feast, he found Ned alone in his solar. "Tomorrow," Jon said. "After breakfast, Robert will want to hunt. Most of the men will go with him. That's when Bran climbs. I'll keep Bran with me." No, he has to climb. Robert has to catch Jaime and Cersei. If we just accuse them without proof, it's our word against theirs. Cersei will deny everything. But if Robert sees them with his own eyes, there's no room for doubt. Ned's jaw clenched. "You're asking me to use my son as bait? I'm asking you to trust me. Bran won't fall. I'll make sure of it, but Robert needs to see. And if something goes wrong, then I die stopping it. I've died before. I can do it again if I have to." Jon's voice was flat. "But I won't let Bran fall. I won't let any of them die. Not this time." Ned looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "Tomorrow. But if Bran is hurt, he won't be. I promise." The next morning, Jon woke before dawn. He dressed, checked his sword, waited. Robert announced the hunt at breakfast. Most of the men cheered. A chance to ride, to kill, to drink in the woods. Robert invited Ned, who started to agree. "Actually, Your Grace," Jon said, stepping forward. "Lord Stark has duties in Winterfell. Perhaps I could attend you. I know the woods well." "Ned's bastard? You want to hunt with the king?" "I want to serve, Your Grace." Robert laughed. "Got some fire in you, boy. I like that. Fine. Ride with us." Ned started to protest, but Jon caught his eye, shook his head slightly. Ned subsided. The hunting party left an hour later. Robert at the front, surrounded by lords and knights. Jon rode near the back, but close enough to watch. They rode for 2 hours. Into the Wolfswood, Robert killed a boar. Everyone cheered. Wine flowed. And back at Winterfell, Jon knew Bran was climbing. Jon waited until Robert was thoroughly drunk, laughing with his men, blood on his clothes from the boar. Then Jon approached. "Your Grace, I should return to Winterfell. There's something I need to attend to." Robert waved him off. "Go, boy. You've earned it." Jon rode hard, back through the woods. Through Winterfell's gates, he dismounted and ran. To the broken tower, to the first keep beside it. He heard voices as he approached. Jaime, Cersei, muffled through stone walls, and above, on the broken tower's walls, Bran, climbing. Moving toward a window, Jon's heart hammered. He ran to the base of the tower, looked up. Bran was 20 feet up, moving with the confidence of a boy who'd climbed 1,000 times. "Bran," Jon called. Bran looked down, startled. "Jon, what are you doing? Come down, now. I'm almost to the window I can see. Down, now, or I'm telling Father you've been climbing again." Bran's face fell, but he started descending, slowly, carefully. Jon moved to the window of the first keep. He could hear them clearly now. Jaime and Cersei. Together, he had minutes, maybe less. Jon ran back through the yard to the stables, grabbed a horse, rode out to meet the hunting party. He found them a mile from Winterfell. Robert was still drinking. "Your Grace," Jon called. "There's something you need to see, in Winterfell. It's urgent." Robert frowned. "What is it?" I can't say here, but please, trust me. Come now." Something in Jon's voice made Robert pause. He looked at Ned. Ned had stayed behind. Jon had convinced him to wait at Winterfell to be ready. "This better be good, boy," Robert muttered, but he turned his horse, rode back. They reached Winterfell. Jon led Robert to the first keep. The voices were still there, louder now. "What is this?" Robert demanded. "Listen," Jon said. Robert's face changed as he heard. Recognition, disgust, rage building. Jon pushed open the door. Robert saw them, Jaime and Cersei, together. Undeniable. For a moment everything froze. Then Robert roared, "You!" Jaime scrambled for his sword. Cersei screamed. Robert surged forward faster than a man his size should move. "Guards!" Robert bellowed. "Arrest them!" Both of them, Ned appeared with Stark men. They'd been waiting, positioned by Jon's instructions. They poured into the room. Jaime fought. His sword flashed, but there were too many. Ned himself struck Jaime's blade aside. "Yield," Ned commanded. "Yield or die." He dropped his blade. Robert stood over them, breathing hard. "Treason. Incest. How long, how long?" "Since before I married you." "The children?" "All three. None of them yours." Robert's hand went to his warhammer. For a moment, Jon thought he'd kill her there. But Ned stepped between them. "Your Grace. Not like this. The realm needs to see justice done properly." Robert's chest heaved. Then he pointed at Jaime and Cersei. "Chain them, both of them. We're taking them to King's Landing, and then I'm going to execute them in front of the entire city." He turned to Jon, stared at him. "How did you know?" "I saw them, Your Grace, yesterday, but I needed you to see for yourself. I needed proof. You saved my line, saved my honor. Whatever you want, boy, it's yours." Jon knit his eyes. "I want justice, Your Grace. For you, for Lord Stark, for the realm." Robert nodded slowly. "You'll have it. I swear it." They chained Jaime and Cersei, led them away. Joffrey, Myrcella, and Tommen were found and confined. Bastards, no longer royal. That evening, Ned and Jon stood on Winterfell's walls. "It worked," Ned said quietly. "This was the easy part. Now comes the hard part, convincing Robert to investigate properly, dealing with Tywin, preparing for the real war. But first we need to survive the Lannisters. Tywin won't let this stand. He'll march, and when he does, we need to be ready." Ned looked at his nephew, the bastard who wasn't a bastard, the boy who'd lived a lifetime in a single night. "I believe you now. I don't understand it, but I believe you. To Stannis, to the Vale, to the Riverlands. We build a coalition, and we end the Lannister threat before it can destroy us." Below them, Winterfell prepared for war. But this time, Jon knew they had a chance. This time, Ned would live. This time they would win. The ravens flew at dawn. Jon stood in the rookery watching the maester attach messages to the legs of 6 black birds. Each one carried the same essential truth, worded carefully for its recipient. "To Stannis Baratheon at Dragonstone. Your investigation was correct. The Queen and Kingslayer arrested for treason and incest. Come to Winterfell, to Jon Arryn's widow Lysa at the Eyrie, Lord Baelish implicated in your husband's murder. Require your testimony. To Edmure Tully at Riverrun. Request Riverland's support. Lannister threat imminent." The birds launched into the gray northern sky. Jon watched them disappear. In his other life, these alliances had formed too late, fractured by lies and betrayal. This time, they would form early, united by truth. "Will they come?" Ned asked from behind him. "Stannis will? He's been waiting for vindication since Jon Arryn died. The Vale is uncertain. Lysa is unstable. But the Riverlands will support you. Catelyn's family won't abandon her brother-in-law." Below, in Winterfell's yard, Robert Baratheon was shouting orders. Stark men and Baratheon men worked together, preparing for the journey south. Jaime and Cersei sat in chains in separate cells. Their children, bastards now, were confined to chambers under guard. "Robert wants to leave immediately," Ned said. "Ride hard to King's Landing, hold the trial, execute them, and be done with it. We need to wait for Stannis, 3 days, maybe 4. His ship is fast." Jon turned from the window. "And we need to investigate the children properly, publicly." so no one can claim Robert is acting on false accusations. You want to parade them in front of the realm? I want the truth to be undeniable, Robert's bastards. All have black hair, every single one, Gendry in King's Landing, Maya Stone in the Vale, Bella at the inn, Edric Storm at Storm's End. The pattern is absolute. 300 years of Baratheon genetics never wavering, and then Cersei's children, all golden-haired, all Lannister. Ned's jaw tightened. You're asking me to help condemn children. I'm asking you to save thousands of lives. If we don't prove this conclusively, the realm will fracture. Half will believe Robert, half will believe it's a Baratheon plot to seize Lannister wealth. We need evidence so clear that even Tywin can't dispute it. And when Tywin marches anyway, then we'll be ready. With Stannis, with the Vale, with the Riverlands, a united front. Jon met Ned's eyes. This is what I know from living through the alternative. Tywin respects strength. He'll march if he thinks he can win. But if the entire realm stands against him, he'll calculate the odds and bend the knee. You're certain? No. But it's our best chance. A knock on the door. A guard entered. Lord Stark, the king requests your presence in the great hall. They found Robert pacing before the high table, Joffrey standing nearby in chains. The boy's face was red, tears streaming down his cheeks. Not from remorse, from rage. I want my mother, Joffrey shouted. You can't do this. I'm the prince. You are Hill, not Baratheon, and if you speak again without being spoken to, I'll have your tongue cut out. Joffrey sobbed on the floor. Tommen and Myrcella stood against the wall, pale and terrified. They were younger, less comprehending. Tommen was 8, Myrcella 7, too young to understand what they'd lost. Robert turned to Ned. I want them examined by Grand Maester Pycelle, by every maester we have. I want the lineage books studied. I want every piece of evidence gathered, and then I want it presented publicly so the whole realm knows what that Lannister whore did to me. Your Grace, Ned said carefully. The children are young. Perhaps Mercy. Mercy? Robert's face purpled. She passed off bastards as my heirs. She would have seen them sit my throne. The realm would have been ruled by Lannister spawn while my true bloodline died out. He pointed at Joffrey. Look at him. Not a drop of Baratheon in him. 15 years I raised that little shit, and he's nothing to me, nothing. Jon stepped forward. Your Grace, the children are bastards, but they're also innocents. They didn't choose their birth. Punish Cersei and Jaime for their crimes. But the children, exile them. Send them to the faith. Make them wards. Show the realm that Robert Baratheon is just, not cruel. Robert stared at him. You want me to show mercy to Lannister bastards? I want you to show wisdom. Executing children makes you look like a tyrant. The realm is already unstable. Give them reason to support you, not fear you. Robert's breathing slowed. He looked at Tommen and Myrcella, both crying silently. Then at Joffrey, still on the floor, glaring with pure hatred. The young ones go to the faith, Robert said finally. They take vows, renounce their names, live as orphans of the Seven. But him, he pointed at Joffrey. He's old enough to know what he is, old enough to have shown his nature. He goes to the wall, he takes the black, and if he refuses, he dies. Joffrey's face went white. The wall? No, I won't. You can't make me. Take him away, Robert ordered, before I change my mind and just kill him now. His screams echoed through Winterfell. Tommen and Myrcella were led away more gently, to chambers where Septus would begin teaching them the prayers they'd recite for the rest of their lives. When they were gone, Robert slumped into a chair. He suddenly looked old, tired. 15 years, he said quietly. 15 years married to that woman, and all of it was a lie. Ned sat beside him. I'm sorry, Robert. Don't be. You tried to warn me not to marry her, after the rebellion. You said the Lannisters couldn't be trusted. I didn't listen. I thought her beauty and Tywin's gold were worth it. He laughed bitterly. I was a fool. You were a king trying to unite the realm. And now I'll tear it apart. When Tywin hears about this, he'll come with everything he has. Let him come, Jon said. We'll be ready. I'm confident because I know Tywin. He's a strategist. He calculates odds. Right now he thinks he can win because the realm is divided. But if we show him a united front, if every kingdom stands together, he'll realize the cost is too high. And if he doesn't, the Westerland's broken, the gold mines seized. We end them as a threat forever. Robert studied Jon for a long moment, Then he turned to Ned. Your bastard talks like a king. He thinks like one too, Ned said quietly. Good. We'll need that in the days ahead. Stannis Baratheon arrived 3 days later. His ship appeared on the horizon at dawn, black sails stark against the gray sky. By midday, he was riding through Winterfell's gates with a small retinue of Dragonstone men. Stannis was hard-faced, lean, his jaw perpetually clenched. He looked like Robert, but without the softness. Where Robert had grown fat and jovial, Stannis remained rigid and severe. He dismounted in the yard. Robert came to meet him. The brothers hadn't seen each other in over a year. Stannis, your grace. Stannis didn't embrace him, just nodded stiffly. I received your raven. Is it true? Cersei and Jaime, all 3 children, all of it. Stannis's jaw tightened further. I told him a year ago. We investigated together. The bastards, the lineage books, everything pointed to the same conclusion. And then he died. By Littlefinger acting on Lysa Arryn's behalf. Stannis's eyes narrowed. You have proof? We will, when we reach King's Landing. Jon stepped forward. Lord Stannis, Jon Arryn's death wasn't natural. It was murder, and the man who orchestrated it is still in the capital, still poisoning the realm with his schemes. Stannis looked at Jon. Who are you? Jon Snow, Lord Stark's bastard. I know. Stannis studied him. You're the one who discovered the incest? I'm the one who showed the king the truth. How did you know? By chance. I was going to tell Lord Stark, but I knew no one would believe me without proof. So I arranged for the king to catch them in the act. Effective, you think strategically. I think about what works. A rare quality. Stannis turned back to Robert. What's the plan? Execute them and deal with Tywin's response? Execution once the realm sees the truth. And the bastards? The young ones to the faith. Joffrey to the wall. Stannis's expression didn't change. Acceptable, though I'd kill all 3. Remove every potential claimant. Their children. Stannis. They're Lannisters. Leaving them alive leaves threats. Threats we can manage, Jon interjected. Killing them makes us look weak and cruel. Showing mercy, controlled mercy, makes us look strong. Stannis studied Jon again. You're not like most bastards. Most would stay silent, grateful for scraps. You speak like you have authority. I speak like someone who wants the realm to survive what's coming. What's coming? How much Stannis would believe? Winter, Lord Stannis. The real winter, the long night, the White Walkers. Stannis's expression didn't change. The White Walkers are children's stories. So were direwolves. So was everything else the realm forgot. Jon's voice was flat. They're real. They're coming. And when they do, we need the 7 kingdoms united, not tearing each other apart over a throne. You expect me to believe in monsters from beyond the wall. I expect you to prepare for the possibility, because if I'm right and you're not ready, everyone dies. And if I'm wrong, the worst that happens is the Night's Watch gets more men and resources. Stannis looked at Robert. Your Grace? The boy's been right about everything else. If he says there are ice demons coming, I'm inclined to listen. That's madness. So is incest between twins producing 3 bastards who almost inherited the 7 kingdoms? We live in mad times, brother. Stannis said nothing for a long moment. Then, when do we leave for King's Landing? Tomorrow. We've waited long enough. The royal procession moved slowly. The king's wheelhouse set the pace. Though Cersei no longer rode in it, she was chained in a covered wagon, separate from Jaime. Robert rode at the front with Ned and Stannis. Jon rode with the Stark men, watching everything. On the 3rd day, they stopped at a crossroads inn. Jon knew this place. In another life, Arya had been here with the Hound. The innkeeper was the same woman who'd served Robert before. She had a daughter, Bella, 15 years old, black-haired, blue-eyed. Robert saw her serving ale and froze. Stared. Jon approached Robert quietly. Your Grace, that's one of yours. Robert's face went red. Then he laughed, loud and long. Gods, I betted her mother. 16 years ago, on the way to King's Landing after the rebellion. I'd forgotten. She's one of many, Your Grace, all with black hair. All proof of what Baratheon blood looks like. Robert looked at Bella, then back at the wagon where Cersei sat chained. Bring the girl. I want her to testify in King's Landing. Her and as many of my bastards as we can find. Over the next weeks, they gathered them. Gendry, a blacksmith's apprentice in King's Landing. They sent ravens ahead to have him located. Maya Stone in the Vale, They requested she be sent to the capital. Edric stormed at Storm's End. Stannis personally vouched for him. By the time they reached King's Landing, they had 6 of Robert's bastards assembled, all black-haired, all unmistakably Baratheon. The city appeared on the horizon on the 32nd day. Jon saw it and remembered. He'd walked those streets so many times, been crowned in the Dragon Pit, ruled from the Red Keep, watched it burn. Not this time. They entered through the King's Gate. The small folk lined the streets, silent and uncertain. They'd heard rumors. The Queen arrested. The children declared bastards. The realm in chaos. Robert rode straight to the Red Keep. The guards opened the gates. The procession poured into the courtyard. And waiting there, smiling his thin smile, was Petyr Baelish. "Your Grace," Littlefinger said, bowing low. "Welcome home. We've been preparing for your arrival. The small council is assembled. The city watch is at your command. Whatever you need." "Lord Baelish," Jon said, stepping forward before anyone else could speak. "How convenient that you're here. I don't believe we've been introduced. Jon Snow, Lord Stark's bastard. Ah, the famous bastard. I've heard about you. How you exposed the Queen's indiscretions. Very clever. Not as clever as murdering the hand of the king and blaming it on the Lannisters." The smile froze. The courtyard went silent. Littlefinger's voice remained smooth. "I'm sorry, what did you say?" "You heard me. You convinced Lysa Arryn to poison her husband with tears of lice. Then you had her write to Lady Catelyn claiming the Lannisters did it. You started this entire chain of events. That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof?" "We will. As soon as we question Lady Lysa under oath. Lady Lysa is unstable, mad with grief. Everyone knows this. Nothing she says can be trusted." Jon stepped closer. "What about the dagger? The Valyrian steel dagger you claimed belonged to Tyrion Lannister. The one you gave to the cat's paw assassin who tried to kill Bran Stark." Littlefinger's face went very still. "I don't know what The dagger was yours. You lost it in a bet. You told Catelyn it was Tyrion's to frame him, to start a war between Stark and Lannister, because war is profitable for a man with brothels and information networks." Robert stepped forward. "Is this true, Baelish? Your Grace, I've served loyally for years. This boy is making wild accusations." "Jon," Ned said quietly. Where would Littlefinger keep records, proof? He'd learned its secrets. His chambers in the Tower of the Hand, 3rd level, behind a false panel in the wardrobe. That's where he keeps his private ledgers. Littlefinger's composure cracked. Just for a moment, a flash of genuine fear. Robert saw it. "Ned, take men. Search his chambers. If you find what the boy says, arrest him. Your Grace, this is highly irregular. So is murdering my hand and lying to my face for a year. Move, Baelish. You're under guard until Ned returns." Ned took 20 Stark men. Jon went with them. They climbed the Tower of the Hand, Ned's chambers now, but Littlefinger had occupied them when the position was empty. Jon led them to Littlefinger's personal rooms. Opulent, rich fabrics, expensive furniture. The wardrobe was carved oak, massive and ornate. Jon opened it, pushed aside the clothes, found the seam in the back panel, pressed, it swung open. Inside a small chamber, shelves lined with ledgers, correspondence, records. Ned pulled one down, opened it. His face went pale. Gods, payments to the Alchemists Guild, payments to L.A. with notes, tiers of lists acquired, payments to various anonymous contacts on dates that correspond to, he flipped pages, to every major political incident in the past 5 years. Jon pulled down another ledger. This one documents his brothels, and the information gathered there, names, secrets, who visited which girls, what they said. "He's been spying on the entire court," Ned said quietly, "for years, building leverage, and using it to orchestrate chaos." Jon found a stack of letters, opened one. "This is from Lysa, before Jon Arryn died. As you suggested, I've acquired the substance, but Petyr, I'm frightened. If anyone discovers she signed it." Ned took the letter, read it. His hands shook. Jon Arryn was murdered by Littlefinger's design, and he blamed the Lannisters to start a war. "Take everything," Jon said. "Every ledger, every letter, every scrap of evidence. We'll lay it out in front of Robert." They carried it all down, ledgers and letters and evidence of years of manipulation and murder. In the courtyard, Littlefinger stood with guards surrounding him. When he saw them coming, carrying his secrets, his face went white. "No, Those are private documents. You have no right. I have every right, Robert said. I'm the king, and you're a traitor. Stannis stood beside him, face like stone. Ned presented each piece, explaining what it meant. The payments to Lysa, the tears of Lys, the letter arranging Jon Arryn's death, the false claim about the dagger, the payments to the cat's paw assassin, years of schemes and lies and manipulations all documented in Littlefinger's own hand. When it was done, Robert stood, Petyr Baelish. You are guilty of regicide, of the murder of Jon Arryn, hand of the king, of conspiracy to commit murder, of treason against the crown. Do you deny it? No escape. His smile was gone completely now. I deny nothing, he said quietly. I did what I had to do to survive, to rise. In the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. I was winning. Your hand of the king, the sentence is yours to pass. Ned drew ice, the great sword gleamed in the torchlight. Petyr Baelish, for the crime of murdering Jon Arryn and conspiring against the realm, I sentence you to die. Littlefinger didn't beg, didn't plead. He just knelt. Ned swung. The blade took his head cleanly. The throne room was silent. Then Robert spoke. One viper dead, now for the others. That night, Jon stood in the chambers Ned had assigned him. Small, simple, a far cry from the king's apartments he'd occupied in another life. A knock on the door. Enter, Varys glided in. The spider, bald, soft, moving with perfect silence despite his bulk. Master Jon Snow, or should I say the boy who knows too much, heard everything. He would have questions. Lord Varys, I'm no lord. The eunuch smiled. You're an interesting puzzle. A bastard who somehow knew about the queen's incest. Who knew where Littlefinger kept his secrets? Who speaks of White Walkers in the long night as if he's seen them? And you want to know how. I want to know if you're a threat to the realm. I serve the realm, you see. Not kings, not lords. The people, the small folk who suffer when the High Lords play their games. Jon studied him. In another life, Varys had been complicated. Sometimes ally, sometimes enemy. Hard to read, harder to trust. But ultimately, Varys had been sincere about serving the realm. He'd just been wrong about the method. I'm not a threat, Jon said. I'm the realm's best chance at survival. Bold words. True words. The Game of Thrones is a distraction, Varys. It always has been. While the High Lords fight over a chair made of swords, the real enemy is coming from the north. And when it arrives, every kingdom, every house, every person in Westeros will need to be united, or we all die. You speak very certainly for a boy who's never left the north. I speak from experience, from knowledge, from seeing what happens when we're not ready. And how do you have this knowledge? Jon met his eyes. Does it matter? You want the realm to survive? So do I. We can work together, or we can be enemies. Your choice. Varys circled him slowly. What do you want from me? Your network. When we move against Tywin, I need to know where his forces are, how many men, what his plans are. And in return, I help you achieve what you've always wanted. A realm at peace, stable, prepared, not torn apart by war. Varys stopped circling. You're either the cleverest young man I've ever met, or the most dangerous. I haven't decided which. Why not both? A smile flickered across Varys's face. Indeed. Very well, Jon Snow. You'll have your information. But know this. I'll be watching. If you become a threat to the realm, I'll act. I'd expect nothing less. Varys glided to the door. Stopped. One more question. The White Walkers. Do you truly believe they're coming? I know they're coming. I've fought them. I've seen what they can do. And if we're not ready when they arrive, every person in Westeros will die. Or worse, they'll become one of them. Varys studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Then we'd best prepare, hadn't we? He left. Jon sat on his bed, exhausted. 2 vipers dead, Littlefinger executed, Cersei and Jaime awaiting trial. But the greatest threat remained. Tywin Lannister, the old lion, the man who'd orchestrated the Red Wedding, who'd killed Rhaegar's children, who would burn the realm to ash before admitting defeat. A raven had been sent to Casterly Rock days ago, informing Tywin of his children's arrest, demanding he come to King's Landing to answer for their crimes. Tywin's response had arrived that afternoon. The accusations against my children are false. Release them immediately or face the consequences. No surrender, no negotiation. just threats. Jon knew Tywin would march, was probably already marching, 30,000 Lannister men, the largest army in Westeros outside the royal forces. But this time the realm was ready. The Riverlands had sent word, 10,000 men assembling at River Run. The Vale had committed, 8,000 men led by Bronze Jon Royce. Lysa was unstable, but her lord still honored the old alliances. Stannis brought the Dragonstone garrison and the royal fleet, 5,000 men and 50 warships. The North was marching south, 15,000 men under various bannermen, with Robb Stark leading the vanguard, and Robert commanded the Crownlands and Stormlands directly. 20,000 men, nearly 70,000 soldiers, the largest coalition since Robert's rebellion. All of it united against House Lannister. Jon stood and walked to the window, looked out over King's Landing, 500,000 people unaware of the storm gathering. A knock. Ned entered. "Can't sleep?" Ned asked. "Too much to think about. The trial is tomorrow. Cersei and Jaime will be presented to the court. All the evidence, the bastards, the lineage books, everything. And then Robert executes them, publicly, in front of the entire city." Jon turned from the window, and Tywin marches. The war starts. "Yes," Ned sat heavily. "I've been thinking about what you said, about the Red Wedding, about Robb dying. It won't happen. Not this time." "How can you be certain?" "Because the Red Wedding required specific circumstances. Robb needed to be losing, desperate, betrayed by allies. The Freys and Boltons only turned because they thought the Starks were doomed." Jon's voice was hard. "This time, we're winning. We have the entire realm behind us. The Freys won't dare betray the crown. And Roose Bolton," he paused. "We need to watch him. He's dangerous, ambitious. If he sees an opportunity to advance by betraying us, he'll take it. I've never trusted Bolton, but he's brought 3,000 men. We need him. We need to keep him where we can see him. Give him a command that keeps him visible, accountable." Ned nodded. "I'll speak to Robert." Then Ned said quietly, "In this other life you lived, the one where I died, where Robb died, where everything went wrong, what happened to you?" Jon was quiet for a long time. "I joined the Night's Watch like I was supposed to." I rose to Lord Commander. "I let the wildlings through the wall because I knew the real enemy was the White Walkers, not them. My own men murdered me for it, stabbed me in the heart. I died. But you came back. A Red Priestess brought me back. I don't know how. Don't know why, but I woke up. And after that I fought, retook Winterfell from the Boltons, was crowned king in the north, went south to get help against the dead, met Daenerys Targaryen with the dragons. Yes, she'd hatched 3 dragons, conquered half of Essos. She came to Westeros to reclaim her family's throne. I convinced her to help fight the Night King instead. Did you win? We survived the Long Night, barely, lost half our forces. But we killed the Night King, saved the world." Jon's voice went flat. "And then Daenerys burned King's Landing, killed hundreds of thousands of innocent people. She'd gone mad. Like her father. So I killed her, stabbed her, ended the woman I loved to save the realm." Ned's face was pale. "Gods. Her dragon, Drogon, took her body and flew away. Grey Worm wanted to execute me. The lords argued for weeks. Finally, they compromised. Made Bran king. He'd become the three-eyed raven, had visions and knowledge. And they sent me back to the Night's Watch, exiled. Again, that's where you were? When you woke up here? I'd been beyond the wall for years, ranging with the wildlings, growing old, and then one night I went to sleep and woke up here, young again, given a second chance." Ned reached out, gripped Jon's shoulder. "You've suffered, more than anyone should, but you're here now, and we'll make it right. Every lord in King's Landing, every member of the small council, the city watch lining the walls, and the small folk, admitted by lottery, filling the back of the hall." Robert sat the Iron Throne. Ned stood beside him, his hand. Stannis stood on the other side as master of ships and war commander. Cersei and Jaime were brought in chains, stripped of their finery. Cersei's golden hair was tangled, unwashed. Jaime's face was bruised from fighting during his arrest. They knelt before the throne. Robert's voice boomed through the hall. "Cersei Lannister, Jaime Lannister, you stand accused of high treason, of incest, of fraud against the crown, of passing off bastards as royal heirs. How do you answer?" Cersei lifted her chin. I answer that you're a drunk and a fool. You never deserved me, never deserved the throne. Everything I did to survive in a world ruled by men like you. Is that a confession? It's the truth. Yes, Jaime and I are lovers. Yes, the children are ours. And I'd do it again, because they're beautiful, perfect, everything you're not. The hall erupted, gasps, shouts. Robert raised his hand for silence. And you, Jaime? Do you confess as well? Jaime looked at Cersei, then at Robert. I love her. I've always loved her. We were born together. We belong together. The children are ours. I don't deny it. Then you both admit your guilt. We admit what we are, Cersei said. What you could never accept. Bring them forward, the evidence. Grand Maester Pycelle shuffled forward with the lineage book. He read aloud the passages Jon and Stannis had found. 300 years of Baratheon genetics. Black hair, always black hair. Then the bastards were brought in. Gendry, Bella, Maya, Edric, 4 of Robert's many children. All lined up, all black-haired, all unmistakably Baratheon. These are mine, Robert said. Bastards, yes. But mine, look at them. The court looked, saw the resemblance, then looked at Joffrey, brought in separately. Golden-haired, green-eyed. Lannister. The contrast was undeniable. The evidence is clear, Robert said. The children Cersei bore are not mine. They are the product of incest between her and her brother. She has committed fraud, treason, and has endangered the succession of the 7 kingdoms. He stood. Cersei Lannister, Jaime Lannister, I sentence you to death, tomorrow at dawn, before the city, so all may see the price of treason. My father will come, with all the power of the West, and he will destroy you. Let him try. They were dragged away. The trial was done. That evening, a raven arrived from the west. Tywin Lannister had called his banners. 30,000 men were marching east. The war had begun. The executions happened at dawn. Jon stood in the crowd outside the great sept of Baelor, the same steps where Ned had died in another life. But this time, it was the Lannisters who knelt. Cersei went first. She didn't beg, didn't cry. She glared at Robert with pure hatred until the moment Sir Ilan Payne's sword took her head. Jaime was next. He looked at Cersei's body and closed his eyes. I'm coming, love, he whispered. Then his head fell as well. The crowd was silent. Then someone cheered, then another. Within moments, the entire city was roaring approval. Robert stood on the steps, looking down at the bodies of his wife and her brother. His face was stone. Then he turned and walked back into the sept without a word. Jon found Ned in the Tower of the Hand an hour later. The Lord of Winterfell sat at his desk, staring at nothing. It's done, Jon said. Yes, and now Tywin comes. Let him. We're ready. Are we? 70,000 men is a huge army. But Tywin is the finest military mind in Westeros. He's fought more battles than any of us. He's never lost. He's never faced the entire realm united against him. He's always won by dividing his enemies, playing them against each other. This time there's no division, just one unified force. Jon pulled out a map, spread it on the desk. Varys's reports say Tywin is marching down the Gold Road. He'll reach the Golden Tooth in 2 weeks. That's the gateway between the Westerlands and the Riverlands. He'll fortify it, make us come to him. That's what he wants us to think. But Tywin's not stupid. He knows he can't win a defensive war. The West is rich in gold but poor in food. He can't feed 30,000 men indefinitely. He needs to strike fast, break our coalition, force favorable terms. So what will he do? He'll try to take the Golden Tooth, yes, but he'll also try to divide us. Send messages to the Vale, to the Riverlands offering peace if they abandon the crown. Remind them that he's never lost a battle, make them doubt. Ned leaned back. How do we counter that? We don't give him time. We march immediately, we hit him before he's fully prepared. And we bring overwhelming force. Jon traced a line on the map. The Riverlands army is already at River Run. They can reach the Golden Tooth from the east in 10 days. The northern army under Robb is marching south. They're 2 weeks away. Robert's forces can be ready to march in 3 days. 3 armies converging on 1 point. Exactly. Tywin will expect us to take weeks organizing. Instead, we move fast. Catch him off balance. Force a battle before he can entrench. Ned studied the map. And if we lose, we won't. Tywin's strength is strategy. Ours is numbers and momentum. We don't give him room to maneuver. A knock on the door. A guard entered. "Lord Stark, the king requests your presence. The War Council is convening." The War Council met in the throne room. Robert sat the Iron Throne, looking every inch the warrior king he'd been 20 years ago. The executions had sharpened him, burned away the drunken complacency. He was focused, dangerous. Stannis stood beside the throne, a large map spread on a table before him. Around the room, Bronze Jon Royce of the Vale, Edmure Tully of the Riverlands, various lords from the Stormlands and Crownlands, and Jon. "Tywin marches," Robert said. 30,000 men, the largest Lannister army ever assembled. "He thinks he can intimidate us. He's wrong." Stannis pointed to the map. "Our intelligence says he's moving down the Gold Road toward the Golden Tooth. He'll reach it in 12 days at his current pace. Once he fortifies the Tooth, it becomes a siege, which he can sustain longer than we can. Then we don't let him fortify," Robert said. "We march now. Today, we meet him in the field, and we crush him." Tywin Lannister has never lost a battle. He destroyed the Rains in Tarbex. He commanded the right flank at the Trident. He sacked King's Landing. The man is a legend. "So am I," Robert said flatly. "I killed Rhaegar Targaryen in single combat. I led the rebellion that overthrew a dynasty. Tywin bleeds the same as any man. And when I meet him on the battlefield, I'll prove it. Your Grace, Lord Royce is right that Tywin is dangerous. But he's also predictable. He thinks in terms of reputation, intimidation. He expects us to be afraid of him, to hesitate, to give him time to prepare. And we won't," Robert said. "No. We march hard. We reach the Golden Tooth before he does. We force him to attack us, make him come to us on ground of our choosing." Stannis looked at Jon. "You speak as if you've done this before. I've studied warfare, battles, tactics, and I know Tywin's weaknesses." "What weaknesses?" "He's arrogant. He assumes his reputation will do half his work for him. And he's used to fighting divided enemies. Starks against Lannisters, Baratheons against Targaryens. He's never faced the entire realm united. It will rattle him, make him make mistakes." "I like this boy. Ned, your bastard should have been born legitimate. He thinks like a commander." Ned said quietly, "He's learned from good teachers." "Then it's decided. We march in 3 days. Stannis, organize the forces. Jon, your Vale men form the vanguard. Edmure, coordinate with the Riverlands army at Riverrun. We converge on the Golden Tooth, and we end House Lannister." 20,000 men, the Crownlands and Stormlands, with smaller contingents from the Reach who'd answered Robert's call. They moved up the King's Road, then west toward the Riverlands. Jon rode with the Stark men. Ned had brought 50 household guards south, and they formed Jon's immediate company. He was still a bastard, not quite a lord, not quite a commander, but men had started listening when he spoke. On the 5th day, they met the Riverlands army at a crossroads. 10,000 men under Edmure Tully, Catelyn's brother. Jon had met him briefly at Winterfell, but Edmure had left before Robert's arrival. Edmure was young, perhaps 25, with reddish-brown hair and an eager face. He rode up to Robert and Ned, bowed from his saddle. "Your Grace, Lord Stark, the Riverlands stand with you." "Good," Robert said. "How far to the Golden Tooth?" "Our scouts report Tywin's army is 6 days away. Then we'll reach it first. Stannis, start fortifying as soon as we arrive. I want trenches, palisades, archer positions. We make Tywin come to us." They reached the Golden Tooth 3 days later. The fortress stood at the mouth of a pass, a strong position but held by only a small Lannister garrison. Bronze Jon Royce led the assault. The Vale Knights took the fortress in 2 hours. The garrison surrendered. Robert's army poured into the pass and began digging in. Stannis directed the work with ruthless efficiency. Trenches across the pass mouth, wooden stakes, archer platforms. He'd fought in the siege of Storm's End for a year, learned defensive warfare the hard way. "Tywin will see the fortifications," Stannis said to Robert. "He'll know attacking is suicide. He'll try to wait us out. Let him try. We have the entire Riverlands behind us for supply. He's in the Westerlands with an army of 30,000 to feed. We can wait longer than he can." 2 days later, scouts reported the Lannister army approaching. Jon stood on the battlements of the Golden Tooth with Ned, watching the western horizon. Dust clouds rose in the distance. 30,000 men marching in formation. "There," Ned said quietly, "the largest army the West has ever fielded." Jon's hands tightened on the stone. In another life, this army had burned the Riverlands. committed the Red Wedding, brought the realm to its knees. Not this time. The Lannister army stopped half a mile from the pass. Camp was made. Red and gold banners flew. And in the center, on a white horse, sat Tywin Lannister. Even at this distance, Jon could see him, tall, proud, unshakable, the old lion who'd never lost. Robert appeared beside them. There he is, the man who sacked my city, murdered Rhaegar's children, tried to overthrow me. Ned asked. He'll send an envoy, try to negotiate, offer terms. When that fails, he'll probe our defenses, test for weaknesses, and when he finds none, he'll either attack or withdraw. And if he attacks, Robert grinned. It was not a pleasant expression. Then we kill him. That evening, a rider approached under a peace banner. Sir Kevan Lannister, Tywin's brother. He was escorted to Robert's command tent. Kevan was shorter than Tywin, less commanding, but he had the same calculating eyes. He bowed to Robert. Your Grace, my brother sends his greetings. I'm sure he does. What does he want? Peace, Your Grace. There's been enough bloodshed. My brother proposes a cessation of hostilities. He will acknowledge your right to execute Cersei and Jaime for their crimes. In return, he asks that House Lannister be allowed to retain Casterly Rock and the Westerlands. No reparations, no hostages, just peace. Robert leaned back in his chair. And what makes Tywin think he's in a position to negotiate? Your Grace, my brother commands 30,000 veteran soldiers. Even with your superior numbers, the casualties of an assault would be catastrophic. Tens of thousands would die. Cities would burn. The realm would bleed. Is that what you want? Robert said softly, is for your brother to kneel, acknowledge his children's treason, swear fealty, and pay reparations for the damage his family has caused. That's my offer. He has until dawn to accept. Kevan's face didn't change. I will convey your terms, Your Grace. He left. When he was gone, Stannis said, he won't accept. Tywin kneeling? Never. He'd rather die. That night, Jon couldn't sleep. He walked the fortifications, checking defenses. The men were nervous, excited. Many had never seen battle. They didn't know what was coming. He found a quiet corner of the wall and stared out at the Lannister camp. Thousands of fires. Thousands of men who would die tomorrow. Trouble sleeping? Jon turned. Tyrion Lannister stood behind him, cup of wine in hand. The dwarf had been in King's Landing when they arrested his siblings. He'd testified against Cersei at the trial, as Jon had known he would. And now he was here, watching his father's army prepare to fight. Lord Tyrion, just Tyrion. I'm no lord anymore. My father disowned me after I testified against Cersei. He took a drink. So here I am, the dwarf who betrayed his family. What's your excuse for being awake? Thinking. About the battle tomorrow? About what comes after? Tyrion studied him. You're an odd one, Jon Snow. Most bastards spend their lives trying to prove themselves. You spend yours trying to save everyone. Why? Because someone has to. That's not an answer. Jon was quiet for a moment. Then, I've seen what happens when no one does. When everyone just fights for themselves, for power, for pride. The realm tears itself apart, and then the real enemies come, and we're not ready. The White Walkers, you really believe in them? I've fought them, killed them, watched them kill people I loved. Yes, I believe in them. And you think stopping my father will somehow prepare us for ice demons? I think stopping your father will prevent a war that would kill tens of thousands and leave the realm weak. Yes, it was a bitter sound. You know what's funny? I believe you. I don't know why, but I do. You're either the most sincere person I've ever met, or the best liar. I'm not lying. I know. That's what terrifies me. Tyrion took another drink. My father is the greatest military mind in Westeros. He's never lost a battle. Never. And tomorrow you think you'll beat him? Tomorrow the realm will beat him. Not me, not Robert. All of us together. And then what? You all hold hands and sing songs while you wait for the ice monsters? Then we rebuild. Prepare. Send resources to the wall. Train soldiers. Forge dragonglass weapons. Do everything we should have been doing instead of fighting over a chair made of swords. Tyrion studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. You know what? I hope you're right, because if you're not, we're all doomed anyway. He walked away. Jon turned back to the Lannister camp. Tomorrow. Everything would be decided tomorrow. Dawn came gray and cold. The armies assembled. Tywin's response had arrived at first light. A single word: no. Then we fight. The Lannister army formed up in the valley below the pass. 30,000 men in perfect formation. Infantry in the center. Cavalry on the wings. Archers behind. Tywin's banner flew in the center. A golden lion on crimson. The coalition army held the high ground. 45,000 men, the northern army under Robb, had arrived during the night, exhausted but ready. They held the fortifications Stannis had built. Robert stood at the center in his armor, his war hammer in his hands. Ned was on his right, Stannis on his left. Jon was with the reserves watching. Tywin rode forward alone, stopped at the base of the pass. His voice carried, "Robert Baratheon, you sit a throne you won through treachery and murder. You executed my daughter and son without trial. You gather these armies through lies and manipulation. Face me in single combat, and let the gods decide who has justice." Robert laughed. "You want single combat? You're 60 years old, Tywin. I'd break you in half. Then you're a coward, hiding behind numbers because you fear facing me alone. I'm a king. I don't answer challenges from traitors." Robert raised his warhammer. "But I'll answer your army. Archers, loose." The Lannister front ranks raised shields. Most arrows were stopped, but men fell screaming. Tywin wheeled his horse and galloped back to his lines. His commanders shouted orders. The Lannister army began to advance. They came up the pass in waves, infantry first, shields locked, a wall of steel moving toward the fortifications. The coalition archers fired continuously. Men fell. But the Lannisters kept coming. They hit the first line of stakes. The advance slowed. Men tried to climb over. Coalition soldiers pushed them back with spears. Blood ran down the pass. Tywin committed his cavalry. They charged up the slope, trying to flank around the stakes. But the ground was wrong. Too steep, too narrow. Horses stumbled. Riders fell. "He's overcommitting," Jon said to a nearby commander. "He's too aggressive. He knows he can't win a slow fight, so he's trying to break us fast." "Is it working?" "No. We have the high ground and better numbers. He's bleeding men for nothing." The battle raged for 3 hours. The Lannister army threw itself against the fortifications again and again. Each time they were thrown back. The pass became a killing ground. Finally, Tywin pulled back, reformed his lines. He'd lost nearly 5,000 men. The coalition had lost perhaps 1,000. From the command position, Robert watched through a far eyeglass. He's pulling back. Stannis, what's he doing? Regrouping. He knows he can't take the fortifications by direct assault. He'll try something else. What else is there? Jon stepped forward. He'll try to lure us out, make us think he's retreating, then ambush us when we pursue. "We hold position, Your Grace," Edmure Tully said. "If we don't pursue, he can withdraw to Casterly Rock, siege the castle. That could take months. Then it takes months. We have time, he doesn't." As the sun set, his army made camp again. Fires lit, sentries posted, as if settling in for a long siege. That night, Varys appeared at Jon's elbow like a ghost. "A word, young master." They walked away from the camp, into the darkness where no one could hear. "Tywin sent riders," Varys said quietly, "to the twins, to Roose Bolton, offering gold and titles if they betray the coalition." Jon's blood went cold. "How do you know?" "My little birds are everywhere, including in the Lannister camp." Varys smiled. The riders were intercepted, but the messages were concerning. Tywin knows the coalition is held together by mutual interest. He's trying to find the weakest link, the Freys and Bolton. Indeed, Walder Frey is notoriously opportunistic, and Roose Bolton is ambitious. If either thinks the Lannisters will win, they won't. Not this time. Jon's jaw clenched. "Where are the riders now, waiting for you to decide what to do with them?" Jon thought fast. In another life, the Red Wedding had happened because the Freys and Boltons thought they were backing the winning side. This time, he needed to make sure they knew the Lannisters would lose. "Bring them to Robert, publicly. Let everyone see that Tywin is trying to divide us. Then execute the riders as spies, make it clear that betraying the coalition means death. I'll arrange it." The next morning, the riders were dragged before Robert in front of the assembled lords. The messages were read aloud. Tywin's offers of gold, titles, power. Walder Frey's son, Black Walder, who commanded the Frey forces, looked sick. "Your Grace, we never. My father would never." "That says something about your house's reputation, doesn't it?" Black Walder said nothing. Robert turned to Roose Bolton, whose pale eyes revealed nothing. "And you, Lord Bolton? Did Tywin think you could be bought? But mine is higher than Tywin Lannister can pay. See that it stays that way." Robert gestured to the riders. "Execute them. Let Tywin know what happens to spies and traitors." The riders were beheaded. The message was clear. That afternoon, Tywin sent another envoy, this time offering better terms. He would abdicate as Lord of Casterly Rock, give the seat to Tyrion, pay reparations. But the war must end. Robert refused. "The only terms I'll accept are unconditional surrender. Tywin kneels before me and begs forgiveness, or he dies." For 3 more days the armies faced each other. Tywin probed the defenses, looking for weaknesses, found none. His food supplies dwindled, men started deserting. On the 4th day, Tywin made his move, a night attack. 10,000 men moving silently in the darkness, trying to scale the fortifications from an unexpected angle. But Varys's little birds had warned them. The coalition was ready. When the Lannister soldiers reached the walls, they found archers waiting. Torches lit, the night turned to day, arrows rained down, the attack broke. The Lannisters fled, left 2,000 dead behind. The next morning, Tywin's army began to withdraw. "He's retreating," Stannis said. "Finally realized he can't win." "Do we pursue?" Edmure asked. Robert looked at Jon. "Well, you've been right about everything else. What now?" Jon studied the Lannister camp through a far-eye glass. Tywin's forces were moving in good order. Not routed, not panicked. A tactical withdrawal. "We pursue, but carefully. He's trying to reach Casterly Rock. If he makes it inside those walls, we're stuck in a siege. We need to catch him in the field, force one more battle. Break him completely, ask, then mount up," Robert said. "We ride." The coalition army pursued. The Lannister retreat became a race. Tywin moved fast, burning supply wagons to lighten his load. But the coalition was faster. 3 days later, they caught him, at a place called Oxcross, halfway between the Golden Tooth and Casterly Rock. Open ground, no fortifications, just 2 armies facing each other. Tywin had perhaps 20,000 men left. The coalition still had over 40,000. The battle was brief. The coalition cavalry, led by Bronze Yohn Royce, smashed into the Lannister flanks. The infantry, led by Robb Stark, pushed the center. The Lannister line buckled, broke, became a rout. Tywin tried to rally his men, tried to reform the line, but it was too late. The battle became a massacre. Jon fought in the thick of it. His sword, still just castle-forged steel, not Longclaw, broke on a Lannister shield. A knight came at him with an axe. Jon dodged, grabbed a fallen spear, drove it through the knight's visor. Around him, Lannister soldiers were throwing down their weapons, surrendering. The coalition had won. When the fighting stopped, they found Tywin Lannister dead on the field. An arrow through his throat. No one knew who'd fired it. Perhaps it didn't matter. The Lion of Lannister was dead. House Lannister broken. Robert stood over Tywin's body. 20 years I've feared this man, and now he's just meat and bones. "What about Casterly Rock?" Stannis asked. "The city will still resist. Send terms. Unconditional surrender, or we storm the castle and give it to Tyrion. Let them choose." Casterly Rock surrendered 3 days later. Ser Kavon Lannister bent the knee to Robert. The Westerlands submitted. The war of Lannister aggression was over. The coalition had won without losing a major battle. 1 month after the victory, the court assembled in King's Landing. Robert sat the Iron Throne. Ned stood beside him as hand. The throne room was packed. Lords from every kingdom, the Vale, the North, the Riverlands, the Westerlands, even the Reach and Dorne who'd stayed neutral but now came to make peace. Robert spoke. "For 15 years I've been king. I've drunk, I've whored, I've hunted, I've let others run my realm while I enjoyed myself. No more." He stood. "The 7 kingdoms are united for the first time since Aegon's conquest. We've proven that together we're stronger than any enemy, and we'll need that strength because there's a greater threat coming." Murmurs through the crowd. Robert raised his hand for silence. "Winter is coming. The long night. The White Walkers. Everything our ancestors fought against. Everything we've forgotten. It's all coming back. And when it does, we need to be ready." "Your Grace," one lord said carefully, "the White Walkers are stories, legends. So was everything else the realm has forgotten." Robert looked at Jon. "Step forward. Jon Snow, you saved my realm. exposed traitors, helped destroy House Lannister. You've proven yourself loyal, capable, wise beyond your years, and I've learned something about you, about who you really are. Your Grace, what I'm about to say I've kept secret for 16 years, but the time for secrets is past. He took a breath. Jon Snow is not my son. He's my nephew, the son of my sister, Lyanna Stark, and Rhaegar Targaryen. His true name is Aegon Targaryen. He is the rightful heir to the Targaryen dynasty. Shouts, denials, accusations. Robert raised his hand. It took minutes for silence to return. When it did, Robert spoke. I loved Lyanna Stark more than I've loved anyone. She was supposed to be my queen. Instead, Rhaegar took her, and she died. For 16 years, I've hated Rhaegar for that, hated all Targaryens. He looked at Jon, but Lyanna's son is not Rhaegar. He's not Aerys. He's a boy raised by Ned Stark with northern honor and southern nobility. He's proven his loyalty to the realm, and he's more than earned a place here. Robert descended from the throne, stood before Jon. I have no legitimate heirs. My marriage to Cersei was based on lies. The children she bore were not mine. By law, I must name a successor. He drew his sword. Jon Snow, Aegon Targaryen. I legitimize you as Jon Targaryen, and I name you my heir. When I die, you will sit this throne, you will rule the 7 kingdoms, and you will face whatever darkness comes from the north. Jon looked up at him. Your Grace, I never wanted Prince of Dragonstone, heir to the Iron Throne. Jon stood. The throne room was silent. Then someone clapped. Then another. Within moments, the entire court was applauding. Ned embraced him. Your mother would be proud. I hope so. That night, Jon stood on the battlements of the Red Keep, looking north, always north, where the real war waited. Footsteps behind him. He turned. Robert approached, looking older than Jon remembered. Tired. Can't sleep? Robert asked. Too much has changed. You're telling me. I thought my wife's children were mine. Turns out they weren't. I thought my best friend's bastard was just a bastard. Turns out he's a secret prince. I thought I'd die fat and drunk. Turns out I have to prepare for ice demons. I'm sorry. I've disrupted everything. Don't be sorry. You saved everything. Robert leaned against the battlements. I don't have long, Jon. I'm not a fool. I'm fat. I drink too much. My heart won't last another 5 years. But you'll be here. You'll lead them against whatever comes. I'll try. You'll succeed. I've seen you work. You think ahead, plan, prepare. That's what the realm needs. They stood in comfortable silence. Then Robert said, Tell me about it. About the other life. The one where everything went wrong. Jon told him. About Ned's execution. The War of the 5 Kings. The Red Wedding. The Long Night. Daenerys burning King's Landing. All of it. When he finished, Robert was quiet for a long time. Then, Gods, we dodged that. All of it. Because you knew what was coming. And because you listened. Most would have executed me for the things I said. I'm not most kings. I'm a warrior who got lucky. But you're something else. Something the realm needs. 1 year later, Robert Baratheon died. Not in a hunting accident. Not from assassination. He died in his sleep at age 44, his heart giving out after a lifetime of excess. The realm mourned, but the succession was clear. Jon Targaryen was crowned in the Dragon Pit. Lords from every kingdom attended. Ned Stark placed the crown on his head. Jon Targaryen, first of his name, King of the Andals, the Rhoynar and the First Men, Lord of the 7 Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm, sent dragonglass weapons, sent maesters to study the ancient texts, sent food, supplies, equipment. He made Ned his hand, Stannis his master of war, Tyrion his master of coin, Varys his master of whispers. He reached out to the wildlings beyond the wall, offered them land south of the wall if they'd help defend it. Many accepted. He organized the greatest mobilization of forces in Westerosi history, not for war between kingdoms, for war against the dead. 3 years after his coronation, the White Walkers came. But this time, the 7 kingdoms were ready. Jon stood on the wall, looking north at the army of the dead. Hundreds of thousands of White Walkers on dead horses, the Night King himself, riding a dead dragon, Viserion, who'd been killed beyond the wall in a ranging mission. But the living were ready, 50,000 soldiers, dragonglass weapons, wildfire, trenches filled with oil. Every defense Jon remembered from the long night implemented with 3 years of preparation instead of 3 weeks. And behind him, in the sky, a roar. Daenerys Targaryen had come. She'd arrived from Essos 6 months ago, with 3 dragons, Drogon, Rhaegal, Viserion's brother also named Viserion in this timeline. Jon had sent word years ago, invited her to reclaim her birthright, not through conquest, through alliance. She'd come to fight the true war. The dragons screamed. Fire lit the sky. The battle raged for 3 days. Longer than the first long night, but this time they had more soldiers, better weapons, coordinated strategy. Jon fought in the thick of it, with Longclaw now, a gift from Jeor Mormont years ago. The Valyrian steel blade sang through whites and White Walkers alike. On the 3rd day, Jon faced the Night King. They fought on the wall itself, Longclaw against an ice blade. Jon remembered this fight from another life, remembered losing, remembered Arya saving him. But this time he was ready. He'd trained for 3 years specifically for this moment. The Night King was fast, impossibly fast. But Jon was faster. He ducked under an ice blade, spun, drove Longclaw through the Night King's chest. The ancient enemy shattered, and with him, every White Walker, every dead thing he'd raised. The long night ended. The living had won. 5 years later, Jon stood in the throne room, Ned beside him, Daenerys on his other side, his queen now, married 2 years ago in a political alliance that had become genuine affection. The realm was at peace, rebuilt, stronger than it had ever been. "Your Grace," a messenger said, "the Night's Watch reports all quiet. No sign of any dead. The wall holds. Good. Keep me informed." The messenger left. Ned turned to Jon. "You did it. Everything you set out to do, saved the realm, stopped the long night, survived. We did it. All of us, together. What now?" At the city he'd seen burn. At the realm he'd watched tear itself apart. Now we make sure it stays saved. We prepare for the next threat, because there's always a next threat, and we make sure we're ready. You sound like you'll be ready for anything. Jon smiled. I'd better be. I've lived this life twice now. I'm not going to waste it. He turned back to the throne room, to the Iron Throne he'd never wanted but had taken anyway, to the crown he'd earned through sacrifice and knowledge and pain. He was Jon Snow, Jon Targaryen, the boy who remembered everything, the man who saved the world, and he would keep saving it for as long as he lived. Let us know what you'd like to see next. The end.